Namaskar, wishing you all a very happy Independence Day. Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Global. We'll get you all the top stories from India and the region. I'm Prasar Bharati, and for news from the rest of the world, I'm joined by my colleague Jagriti Dave from Washington, DC. Jagriti, good to have you.
Across Central Europe. Coming up in the next 30 minutes, Gaza ceasefire talks are underway in Doha, and ahead of the November election, Vice President Kamala Harris is making her economic case to voters. We'll cross to our correspondents around the world. But first, let's get the headlines.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi leads nation in celebrating 78th Independence Day celebrations at Red Fort, emphasizes bringing one nation and one election in the country. World leaders pour in wishes on India's special day. Russia-Ukraine conflict on the boil. Russia claims its forces regained control of settlement of Krupets. Ukraine claims to set up a military commandant's office in occupied part of Kursk region. Gaza ceasefire talks underway in Doha. Hamas opts out of meeting. United States urges all parties to participate in negotiations. The ongoing conflict between Russia and Ukraine has escalated into a complex situation. Russian-guided bomb attacks on Thursday killed at least 2 people and injured 7 more in Ukraine's northeastern Kharkiv region. Meanwhile, Russian Defense Ministry said that its forces has regained control of the settlement of Krupets in the Kursk region and said that commanders had prepared a series of actions to increase security in regions bordering Ukraine. Meanwhile, Ukraine's top commander said that Kyiv had set up a military commandant's office in the occupied part of Russia's Kursk region, saying it is still advancing in the region. Russia's defense has released video of captured Ukrainian soldiers in Kursk region. Russia said on Thursday that it would beef up border defenses, improve command and control, and send in additional forces nearly 10 days. DD India's Dasha Chernysova has sent us this report from Moscow.
Russia's Defense Minister Andriy Belousov said the General Staff has developed an action plan to protect the Belgorod region. That's after Russia's Emergencies Ministry declared the situation there a federal emergency. Speaking at a meeting on population security and infrastructure in the border areas in the Kursk, Bryansk and Belgorod regions, Defense Minister Andriy Belousov said Moscow needs to improve the efficiency of the troops management system in cooperation with other law enforcement agencies and the administration of the Belgorod region. In the meantime, Russian armed forces say they have restored control over the settlement of Krupets in the Kursk region. The Russian MOD said Ukraine lost some 2,600 military since the start of the incursion. But more evacuations are ongoing, with Kursk authorities announcing a mandatory evacuation of the entire Lushkovsky district. Russia also stepped up security in the Kursk region's city of Kurchatov, home to a large nuclear power plant. Dasha Chernysova reporting in Moscow for DD India.
The United States has announced plans to provide additional security assistance to Ukraine in the near future, as confirmed by National Security spokesperson John Kirby on Thursday. This move comes amid escalating tensions in the Russia-Ukraine conflict and is seen as a further commitment by the US to support Ukraine's defense efforts. Meanwhile, UK has permitted Ukrainian forces to use British-supplied weapons in its ongoing conflict with Russia. There are still restrictions in place for the use of long-range Storm Shadow missiles. Sweden has supported Ukraine in its fight and said that the country has the right to defend itself both inside and outside its territory. Speaking during a news conference in Stockholm on Thursday, he said NATO member Sweden had not been informed of Ukraine's plans ahead of time.
We have provided extensive support to Ukraine, and of course we expect that the use of those platforms and systems take place within the framework of international law. I can state that Ukraine has the right to defend itself inside and outside its territory, and we have called on Ukraine naturally to use these platforms and systems in line with international law.
The Gaza ceasefire talks is underway in Doha. Though little, but a hope remains this time that a solution to the months-long conflict might come out. Hamas has opted out of the meeting, and the US is pushing for all parties to participate in the negotiations. Jagriti Dave is in Washington and gives us more on this and other stories making headlines around the world. Jagriti, what do you think of the ceasefire talks? Hamas has opted out of it, by the way.
Well, Siddharth, all eyes are on this fresh round of Gaza peace talks in the Qatari capital Doha in the hopes that it could produce a pathway to a ceasefire in the Israel-Hamas conflict. The United States is pushing for all parties to participate in the negotiations, encouraging both Israel and Hamas to compromise. The head of Mossad is expected to join the talks, while Hamas has opted out of the meeting. Meanwhile, you have protesters, including families of Israeli hostages, who have taken part in a rally in Tel Aviv on Thursday, urging an immediate resolution to the conflict. And the White House on Thursday urged all sides to attend the ceasefire talks in Doha in order to get a deal implemented, urging Israel and Hamas to compromise, saying progress is still possible in the coming days. White House National Security spokesman John Kirby said, according to their information, Iran has not moved off its threat to attack Israel, including possibly through proxies. On to domestic news here in the United States, and ahead of the November elections, Vice President Kamala Harris is unveiling her economic agenda this week. Reports indicate she plans to focus on issues such as lowering the cost of groceries and bolstering child tax credit, as well as pitching herself in opposition to her rival, Republican Donald Trump, on taxes and tariffs. Meanwhile, Mr. Trump has made a series of personal and policy-based attacks against Kamala Harris, saying he'll bring down consumer prices if he's elected in November.
We're going to defeat Kamala Harris. We're going to win back the White House in a historic landslide, and we're going to take back our country. We're going to take it back. From today and from the day I take the oath of office, we will rapidly drive prices down and make America affordable again. We're going to make it affordable again.
Now, the World Health Organization has declared the Mpox outbreak in Africa a public health emergency of international concern after the viral infection in the Democratic Republic of Congo spread to neighboring countries in Africa. The declaration was announced by the WHO Director General Dr. Tedros Ghebreyesus, and it serves as a warning to other countries about the potential spread of the disease and calls for a coordinated international response. DD India's Chris Ochamringa reports from Kinshasa.
The declaration of Mpox as a global health emergency was made by a team of international experts following the rise in cases of the disease in the Democratic Republic of Congo and other African countries. More than 100 cases of a new strain of Mpox that was detected in eastern DRC have been reported in Burundi, Kenya, Rwanda and Uganda. The strain, known as Clade 1b, is reported to be deadlier than the one that spread globally in 2022. It has caused more than 500 deaths on the African continent so far. International experts are warning of the further spread of the disease across the globe. The Mpox virus is transmitted to humans through contact with infected people or animals. Common symptoms include skin rash, fever and back pain. The World Health Organization has declared the disease, formerly known as monkeypox, as a global health emergency to mobilize resources and coordinate an international response to prevent it from spreading. Chris Ochamringa in Kinshasa, reporting for DD India.
Now, Taylor Swift performs later in London today with her first concert since the cancellation of 3 shows in Austria last week because of a security threat. She's playing 5 dates at Wembley Stadium on what's expected to become the biggest grossing music tour of all time. Fans are excited for the performances despite the heightened security, as DD India's Stuart Smith reports from London.
The British capital is playing host to Taylor Swift more than any other city in the world. It will, by the end of her tour, have hosted Taylor Swift 8 times, which means another 90,000 fans will get to see her at Wembley Stadium, the second largest venue in Europe of its kind, for another time. But this is tainted by the recent security concerns in Vienna, where authorities say a terror attack was planned. This is her first tour since then, her first gig since then, and it means that there are extra concerns about security here. Now, the Metropolitan Police, which is responsible for policing in London, says there is no specific information to indicate that there is anything like what's being investigated by the Austrian authorities being planned here, but it says it's always on the lookout and will work closely with venue security teams as well as other intelligence services here in the UK to try to make sure everyone stays safe. The Mayor of London, Sadiq Khan, has emphasised that the capital plays host to all sorts of large events all the time, and so is very used to running large-scale events like this one. As to what it means, though, for fans entering the stadium later on Thursday, there will be the usual bag searches, more than once perhaps, outside and inside the stadium, as well as multiple ticket checks, and fans are being asked not to gather outside the stadium, as has happened in other locations across the world. Anyone without a ticket will not be able to stay and gather unless they are entering the stadium. So people being told to keep away unless they're inside in order to try and facilitate these extra security measures. Stuart Smith in London, reporting for DD India.
And that's it from me here in Washington. Back to you in the studio, Siddharth.
Oh, thank you so much, Jagriti. That was Jagriti Dave joining us from Washington, and still to come on DD India Global. Floyd Shivambu, the deputy leader of South African opposition party, the Economic Freedom Fighter, resigns. Why? Stay with us to know more. We will show you beating retreat ceremony that was held at the Atari Wagah border in Punjab on the occasion of India's 78th Independence Day.
On Voice of the Global South this week, why is Hinduphobia on the rise around the world? Is it time the world acknowledged anti-Hindu hatred just as it does anti-Semitism? Iraq plans to lower the age of marriage for girls to 9. India's first sunken museum showcases centuries-old treasures. Tune in at 7 p.m. IST, 13:30 GMT on Saturday 17th August, only on DD India.
You're watching DD India Global. I am Siddharth Bharadwaj. Prime Minister Narendra Modi underscored the imperative of implementing key reforms towards making India developed by 2047, inspired by the legacy of India's freedom struggle. Speaking from the historic Red Fort in New Delhi, he presented a compelling call for a secular uniform code, one nation, one election, and opening doors for youth Indian politics. DD India's Rahul Upadhyay reports.
On the occasion of India's 78th Independence Day, Prime Minister Narendra Modi unfurled the national flag at Red Fort in Delhi for the 11th consecutive time. Prime Minister received Rashtriya Salute from Punjab Regiment Military Band. PM also inspected the Guard of Honour, which consisted of 1 officer and 24 personnel, each from Army, Air Force and Delhi Police. Addressing the nation from the ramparts of the Red Fort, Prime Minister recalled the sacrifices people made for the nation. He touched upon many issues of national importance in his nearly 100-minute speech. PM took a strong exception to crime and violence against women in the backdrop of widespread protests across the nation against West Bengal's horrific rape and murder case.
एम्प्लॉयमेंट हो, एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप हो, हर सेक्टर में महिलाओं के कदम बढ़ते जा रहे हैं, लेकिन दूसरी तरफ कुछ चिंता की बातें भी आती हैं कि हमारी माताओं, बहनों, बेटियों के प्रति जो अत्याचार हो रहे हैं, उसके प्रति देश का आक्रोश है। इस आक्रोश को मैं महसूस कर रहा हूं। इसको देश को, समाज को, हमारी राज्य सरकारों को गंभीरता से लेना होगा। महिलाओं के विरुद्ध अपराधों की जल्द से जल्द जांच हो, राक्षसी कृत्य करने वालों को जल्द से जल्द कड़ी सजा हो, वो समाज में विश्वास पैदा करने के लिए जरूरी है।
Prime Minister assured that the government's commitment to economic reform is unshakable. He also made a strong pitch for uniform civil code.
जो कानून धर्म के आधार पर देश को बांटते हैं, जो ऊंच नीच का कारण बन जाते हैं, ऐसे कानूनों को आधुनिक समाज में कोई स्थान नहीं हो सकता है। और इसलिए मैं तो कहूंगा, अब समय की मांग है कि देश में एक सेकुलर सिविल कोड हो। हमने कम्युनल सिविल कोड में 75 साल बिताए हैं, अब हमें सेक्युलर सिविल कोड की तरफ जाना होगा और तब जाकर के देश में धर्म के आधार पर जो भेदभाव हो रहे हैं, सामान्य नागरिक को जो दूरी महसूस होती है, उससे हमें मुक्ति मिलेगी।
PM mentioned the crisis in Bangladesh. He said India remains concerned about safety of Hindus and other minorities in Bangladesh.
140 करोड़ देशवासियों की चिंता कि वहां हिंदू, वहां के अल्पसंख्यक, उस समुदाय की सुरक्षा सुनिश्चित हो। भारत हमेशा चाहता है कि हमारे पड़ोसी देश सुख और शांति के मार्ग पर चले। शांति के प्रति हमारा कमिटमेंट है, हमारे संस्कार है। हम आने वाले दिनों में बांग्लादेश की विकास यात्रा में हमेशा हमारा शुभचिंतन ही रहेगा।
Concluding his speech, Prime Minister acknowledged the greetings of people gathered at the Red Fort. Crowds were seen jostling with one another to shake hands with Prime Minister and take selfies with him. PM also went to the enclosure where school children were present and acknowledged their love and affection. Rahul Upadhyay's report for DD India.
Dibrugarh city has recently built a new office of Indian Medical Association. The Assam state branch of IMA was constituted after independence in the year 1948. The newly built office celebrated the Independence Day for the first time this year. DT India's correspondent Subina Roy talks to IMA Dibrugarh unit members on their plans to serve the people of Assam.
Today, on the occasion of Independence Day, the IMA, the Indian Medical Association, has newly constructed its building for the first time in Dibrugarh. And its establishment in Assam is quite old, as long as the Independence Day, as it was established in 1948. So we have with us the members of Indian Medical Association and renowned doctors. We would like to know what can we expect, like the people of Dibrugarh can expect more from medical services.
We have a dream to do something for the people of the Assam, people of the Dibrugarh, people of the who needs the treatment. You see, we have a plan to start one the OPD, basically in the at least once in a week, to dose the person who needs the treatment. Because because you probably know that Dibrugarh is called just like the Medi Hub. Because all the health facility, most of the health facilities are available here, even though some people are deprived from the health facilities. And we, Indian Medical Association, are bound to keep some treatment, at least in a separate as well as in the free of cost we want to give.
Indian Medical Association is going forward with this new building, with a new noble concept of having OPDs for every week. With this, we move one leap forward towards Viksit Bharat for the year 2047. With camera person Shantanu, Subina Roy, DD India.
On the occasion of 78th Independence Day, India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi outlined India's commitment towards becoming a global leader in semiconductor production. Country head Pearson India Vinay Kumar Swamy also said that PM Modi's Independence Day address laid out a roadmap for India's future as a global leader.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visionary address, which lays out a roadmap for India's future as a global leader. The revival of Nalanda spirit is especially inspiring for us as it underscores the India's potential to become a hub for higher learning and research, which actually resonates with our mission at Pearson India to foster lifelong learning journey. The focus on Skill India aligns with our commitment to empower the youth with the skills that are required for a thriving future.
Leaders from around the world poured in their wishes for India. Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni extended her greetings to Indians with her picture with PM Modi. Highlighting the ever stronger bond between Italy and India, Meloni expressed confidence that together they will achieve great things. US Secretary of State Antony Blinken congratulated India and celebrated its rich and diverse history while expressing optimism for the future of US-India relations. Russian President Vladimir Putin congratulated India and stated that Russia attaches great importance to the privileged strategic partnership with India. On the joyous occasion of 78th Independence Day, the Ministry of Agriculture and Farmers' Welfare organized a program in which farmers from across the nation were honored. Ministry of Agriculture, in fact, the Minister of Agriculture, Shivraj Singh Chauhan, launched the National Pest Surveillance System. This digital initiative utilizes cutting-edge technologies such as artificial intelligence and machine learning to offer timely and precise pest management advisories.
राज्यों के साथ मिलके हम ऐसा एटमॉस्फेयर बनाएंगे, ऐसी व्यवस्थाएं मोदी जी के नेतृत्व में बन रही है और चल रही है जो पहले कभी नहीं थी, और जहां बेहतर करने की जरूरत होगी बनाएंगे, और आपकी जिंदगी कैसे बेहतर बने, क्योंकि आप लोगों को जिंदगी देने वाले हैं अन्न के माध्यम से, आपकी और जिंदगी कैसे बेहतर हो, सुखी और समृद्ध हो, उसमें कोई कसर नहीं छोड़ेंगे।
2016 से इस योजना का लाभ उठा रहे हैं। अभी तक जो इस योजना के अंतर्गत हमारे परिवार ने कम से कम रिस्क कवर में 5 लाख से अधिक हमको रिस्क कवर मिला है और बहुत अच्छी स्कीम है। मैं इस स्कीम के लिए माननीय मोदी जी और हमारे यशस्वी जो यहाँ पे कृषि मंत्री जी आए थे उनका भी धन्यवाद करना चाहूँगी।
Thailand's largest party, Pheu Thai, on Thursday agreed on Paetongtarn Shinawatra as the candidate for Prime Minister ahead of a parliamentary vote. The announcement was made after a party meeting of the coalition government. Paetongtarn is the daughter of a former Prime Minister but a newcomer to politics and will be nominated for the position of the PM at a special session of Parliament to be held on Friday. The decision of the party came a day after Constitutional Court dismissed Srettha Thavisin as Prime Minister for appointing to his cabinet a former lawyer who served jail time.
I have confidence in the party and in all the coalition government parties that will work together to lead our country out of the economic crisis. And of course, we are gathering today to show the public that we are focused and united in pushing the country forward.
Sri Lanka's election panel gave approval on Thursday for President Ranil Wickremesinghe to contest a presidential poll set for September 21st. Wickremesinghe was among 39 other candidates to submit nominations for the vote. Opposition leader Sajith Premadasa and Marxist-leaning parliamentarian Anura Kumara Disanayake are seen as frontrunners. Let's take a look at other stories making news around the world. Turkish and Iraqi officials met for high-level discussion in Ankara to develop cooperation on security issues over Ankara's cross-border military operations. The neighbors in recent years had disagreement over Ankara's cross-border military operations against the outlawed Kurdistan Workers' Party militants based in northern Iraq's mountainous region. Iraq said the operations are a violation of its sovereignty, but Ankara says they are needed to protect itself. A Russian-American spa worker, Ksenia Karelina, was sentenced to 12 years in prison by a Russian court on Thursday after being found guilty of treason for donating money to a charity supporting Ukraine. Karelina transferred funds to a Ukrainian organization which were used for medicines, equipment and means of defeat and ammunition by the armed forces of Ukraine. Floyd Shivambu, the deputy leader of South African opposition party, the Economic Freedom Fighters, resigned on Thursday. He is to join the party led by former President Jacob Zuma. The EFF party already saw a decline of 10% votes in May's national election. More than 40 flights across airports of Balearic Islands were cancelled after torrential rains swept across the region on Wednesday. A red alert has been issued on Thursday and all outdoor activities have been banned. On the occasion of India's 78th Independence Day, beating retreat ceremony was held at the Atari Wagah border in Punjab. Troops of the border security force performed with a feature by a musical band at the border. Take a look. That's all for this edition of DD India Global. But let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Siddharth Bharadwaj from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India Global.